The S-Class has always been the prime definition of luxury. But what if you're not a sedan person and you need an SUV? Well, Mercedes has the solution that you've been looking for. Welcome everybody to the 2024 Mercedes Benz GLS580. When you come to the front end of the new GLS, yes, new, this has been updated for 2024. So the updates bring in a very big grille. The pre-facelift GLS had a smaller grille, much more elegant. I like that this is a bit more imposing, but I feel like it's a bit too big and it looks kind of out of proportion. I wish it was a bit better designed. And the Mercedes fanboys have always been mocking BMW for their big grills on the X7. Fun fact, this is even bigger than the X7's grill. So the joke's on the Merc boys now. But yeah, otherwise it's very subtle looking. The headlights have a very similar design element to the pre-facelift one. Obviously they have updated the LED units. So since this is the GLS, you have more LED units built in. So that's kind of how they define the smaller SUVs to the bigger SUVs. The big three-pointed star grille in the middle, and this is silver finished. With this paint, I would have liked a black grille. It would have contrasted a bit better. But yeah, it's not the worst looking SUV in the world, but yeah, just maybe a better spec would have made it stand out a bit more. Since this is the GLS and this is the luxury SUV, you do have some chrome on the bottom parts of the bumper. Hey, it's a Mercedes, right? And it's luxury, so chrome just means luxury. But yeah, overall it's very imposing, looks very safe, very subtle. It's not going to turn a lot of heads, but it's a if you know, you know. That's the main motto with this SUV. When you come to the side is when you realize, yes, this is the GLS, which is the largest SUV they have in their portfolio today. It's very long, the wheelbase is very long, the overall size is very bulbous as well. Lots of thick curves on the fenders and stuff, and yeah, as you can see, the fenders also are a bit more flared compared to a regular Mercedes SUV that they have otherwise in the lineup. Also, what complements the side profile are these beautiful 23-inch wheels. These are an option, but it's an option that I definitely take if I were to buy the GLS because they just look so good, and it contrasts really well with this white paint. So the white and black, that's why also kind of why I mentioned why the grille should have been black, because it would have just made that panda spec with the white and black. But yeah, it just looks really good. You do have a bit of chrome on the window lines, and you do have a small side step as well to help you get in and get out of the car. But yeah, just a very large SUV which is very prominent from the side, and it still looks pretty good in 2024. When you come to the rear of the updated GLS, you'll see that now the taillights are more in tune with the Mercedes design family with all the other SUVs as well. And this has 3 pods inside, which means this is the Big Daddy GLS. The smaller models have lesser pods inside them. You do have a thick chrome strip on the tailgate as well. You have a small lift spoiler. You have a small wiper as well. Some more chrome in the bottom with exhaust tips. But the exhaust tips are quite subtle considering this is the V8. I understand it's not the full fat AMG, but this being a V8, I believe the exhaust pipe still should have been a bit more prominent and maybe a tad bit more louder as well, but more on that later. Also on the rear, you get access to the tailgate, so when you open it, it pops up pretty quickly, and I have all 3 rows up and I still have a backpack, and it's still very much manageable. You can put in a few cabin luggages for your weekend trips while hauling people in all 3 rows. You can definitely fold the 3rd row and the 2nd row to get way more space. In fact, you can even move houses, but who would do that in a GLS, right? I'm now inside the GLS. As you can see, it's a very familiar place to be if you've been in other modern Mercedes. So you have the one big connected screen. So this is the MBUX, and this is for the Speedo console, which is very customizable. You can have lots of different views you want for the Speedo, for sport dial and everything, and through the tracks and trips. So it's very cool. You do have this sports steering wheel, which is heated as well, which is an option, and it just feels very nice, very AMG steering. You have the twin spokes for the controlling this screen, and you can have the arrows to control this screen. This is for the adaptive cruise, this is for the volume. The only downside, which I have mentioned in every Mercedes review, and it might seem repetitive, but this is all touch. So in the sense that it's not buttons, so for volume you have to swipe up, which can get a bit annoying because sometimes you might swipe too much or you might not be able to swipe enough. So that takes some sliding of fingering here and there, especially this is gloss black, so it is slippery. Good luck changing the volume of your track after you've eaten something. But yeah, otherwise it feels very nice. The paddles feel very good. The clicks are so solid, very tactile. You do have the 4 center vents, which is a trademark of the GLS now. You do have vents on the side as well, but these 4 center vents are now a trademark of Mercedes SUVs. Since this is based on the older car and this does not have the new Mercedes center screen, which is now available in the C class, the S class, the E class and other cars in its range, you do have physical buttons, which I really appreciate. So for temperature, fan speed, everything is all physical buttons, and you still have physical buttons for the volume as well. So you'd have the volume, seek track, everything. You have the touch gesture, so you can swipe through this as well, which is nice. You have a nice wrist pad to just control everything, and you have one big lever to control the air suspension to lower it or raise it. You do have a wireless charging tray and 2 cup holders, which is heated and cooled, but it's an option. But it's an option that's been ticked for this car. And you can obviously just close this, and you have this one center wooden panel, which I really like, and it's real wood. To be very honest, it feels very premium. The interior is all leather on the dash. You have great looking seats, so I love the shade. So the whole spec of this car with the white exterior with the brown interior, Bahia brown as they call it, I just really like it. They've absolutely nailed it. I like tan interiors, but this brown interior comes really close to one of my favorite specs of any car. The seats are very nice. I have seat controls on the door, so just to control everything, can get a bit used to, but it does not have lumbar support, so all the lumbar support and massage controls have to be done through the screen. It took me 5 minutes to find it, but once I did, it's not too bad. But yeah, since if you're used to other cars that have controls here, you have to play through the screen to find it. You do have the amazing Burmeister system. I don't think it's the best. I feel like BMW's Bauer & Wilkins sounds a bit better, like the bass is a bit crisper on this, but the vocals and the treble on this is really good. And while you're on a road trip, the music just makes the experience so much cooler. You do have a very big panoramic sunroof which opens and which lends in a lot of light. As I said, the overall experience with the seats and the interior, how it's spec'd out, it just feels very, very premium and worthy of the price tag. I'm now in the second row of the GLS. Yes, second row. The GLS also has a third row, but I'd only recommend it to kids. I can't fit in the back, so I personally don't want to show you me struggling to get in and just being all forced to sit in the back. I'd only leave it best to kids or adults for shorter journeys. The middle row is very nice. As you can see, space is really not an issue. This seat is for my driving position and I have enough space to tuck in my feet. My legs are nowhere near touching the seat. Headroom is really not an issue, and I have these amazing soft cushions on the headrest as well, which just is so soft, and honestly I might just fall asleep. Obviously, if you want the third passenger, you can accommodate the third passenger, which is really cool. You have a headrest as well, enough legroom to accommodate. This is a bit protruding out, but I feel like legs can still fit in here for the middle passenger. But if you do fold it, it becomes a strict 2-seater, and you have a tab as well to control lots of stuff. So you can control like the lumbar support. So if I press the eject button, the tab comes out and I can just play around with my lumbar and just mess around with everything, which is so cool. And you play on the screen, I can instantly feel my lumbar coming up. But yeah, that's definitely cool. You have a wireless charger, you have a small storage with USB ports in here, you have a big window, the glass comes all the way back. Just like an S class, you have lots of controls for the blinds, for the sunroof controls. So I can close the sunroof controls if I want to from back here, and I can also raise the electric blind. So I'm completely cocooned from the world, and especially this is really heavily privacy glass tinted from outside, so with the blind it's really dark, very cozy and very sleep inducing. In fact, I can slide it back electrically and just fall asleep. It's so comfortable. You do have a touch control here to control the temperature, the fan speed, vents here, and vents on the panel as well. So the rear passengers are quite cool, pun intended. Behind the wheel of the 2024 Mercedes Benz GLS580. So let's get the numbers out of the way. This has a 4-liter twin turbo V8, produces 502 horsepower, roughly 530 foot-pounds of torque. It weighs a lot. This weighs over 2.3 tons, so it's a big heavy boy. This has a 9-speed transmission, 9G as Mercedes calls it. So let's see how it drives. Actually, you know what, let's launch it. It doesn't have launch control, but if I put it to sport and if I put it into, yeah, I'm in sport, so I left foot brake it and let's go. Oh, oh, it goes fast, and that's 100. So that's 105 odd seconds, which is pretty rapid for, let's just call it a house on wheels. It's pretty quick, and it launches very hard. Not as hard as its competitor, the X7, but that has more power. But yeah, it's still pretty good compared, considering this doesn't have an official launch control. Just brake boosting works really well. I'm in sport and I'm on a patchy surface. You can see, you can feel everything inside the cabin. But yeah, otherwise it just feels very cool, very nice. Even in Sport Plus, it doesn't feel good. See, even I just launch it, it just feels nice. Oh, and it holds gears, and I can manually shift with the paddles as well, and it picks up well. But this car is not about sporty driving. This car is all about putting in comfort and letting the car glide and cruise. This is a really bumpy surface of road, I'd say, but with the air suspension working so well in comfort and the seats working so well, you can even turn on, like, okay, you know what, while I'm at it, I'm gonna turn on the driver massage, turn on the cooled seats on a very hot day like this, and just calmly cruise. This is what this SUV is all about. If you want to hustle, if you want to drive fast in corners or have fun, you always have the AMG, the GLS63. This is not about that. This is just about calmly cruising with your family on the highway, just letting the car do its thing. It's so comfortable. I think it's the most comfortable SUV in its segment right now. And I know that's a tall claim because it does have some formidable rivals, but I do genuinely feel that this is the most comfortable SUV in its segment right now. The steering has no feedback. It's too light. You have to sometimes guess how much lock there is. But yeah, otherwise it just feels so easy to drive. The X7 also shrinks around you. This doesn't shrink. You do feel the heft, the size every time you drive it. It can be a bit of a deterrent, especially I live in downtown, and you know, downtown roads are sometimes not the most spacious, but it just feels very big at times. But in these open roads, not a problem. As I said, you can feel the body roll. I am in comfort mode, but even if I put it to sport mode like now, and it instantly drops like 4 gears, but if I floor it and I turn it, and I do feel there is still, it does stiffen up, but it still has considerable body roll, if I can say that. But again, as I said, it's not about this. You're doing the wrong thing if you're cornering your GLS580. So I'll put it back into comfort and just let the car go into its highest gear and cruise. This is a V8, but you hardly hear it, and that's kind of my only drawback with this engine gearbox. I wish it was a bit more loud. I know the AMGs are loud, but this being a V8 has the right to just be a little bit more louder, a bit more oral drama than it currently has. Fuel economy is also really good. Went on the highway. I went to the Niagara region yesterday, and it took me all of 3 hours to get there to cover 130 kilometers, which is insane. Crazy amount of traffic, local driving, came back, and I was averaging about 11.5 liters per 100, which is honestly commendable for a car of this size, of this engine capacity and weight. Yeah, I mean, what can I say? This car is meant to be relaxed. It should tone you down, should relax you, and it does a very good job of that. You would not want to drive this SUV in haste, and I understand that some people just want comfort. For them, the GLS is the best bet possible. In conclusion then, the 2024 Mercedes Benz GLS580. Having driven its arch rival, the X7 M60i, not too long ago, I was very eager to get my hands on this luxury V8 barge. Overall, it's been a great SUV. I think it looks fairly good, fairly modern, up to date with its competitors in the current market. It's got decent equipment. It's very spacious, supremely comfortable. I think this is the most comfortable SUV in its segment currently. The interior has all the tech, all the options. Obviously, it has lots of options loaded, and let me come to that. So the base price of this GLS 580 is 140,500. Sorry, I have to read off my phone, but there's just so much information I have to refer to, I can't remember it all. So yeah, the base price is 140,500. The overall car with options is 160,600. That's almost $20,000 worth of options. The wheels are 2,730, which I think is non-negotiable. I would definitely tick this GLS every day of the year. The paint is 2275, so manufactured diamond white metallic, which I think looks stunning, especially in the sunlight and clear weather that we've been shooting. When the sun hits it, you can see the pearl finish and it just looks so good. Very subtle, but yet makes a statement. You do have the pinnacle trim, you have the third row seating heating, you have the trailer maneuvering assist, so you can see the trail hitch below, you have the climate control cup holders, these are all options like $300-400. You do have the rear side window roller blinds, which are $755, which I feel is a bit cheap. I mean, come on, this thing should be standard in a 160k car, right? But yeah, you have the driver assistance package, which is again another $2,600. You have the premium rear seating package, which is $7,000. And you have the acoustic comfort package, which is $1,315. All this is roughly $20,000 in options, which is pretty steep if you ask me. But I think when you are ready to splurge that kind of money on a luxury SUV, 140, 150, 160 really doesn't make a difference. And if you're in the market to buy a premium luxury SUV that just does comfort and not fun to drive in any way, the GLS is your answer. But if you're looking for fun, look elsewhere. I understand not everybody wants fun. Some people just want comfort at this price point, and I can see why the GLS sells so much to the affluent community.